All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to you, wherever you are in this beautiful world. Welcome to our Tuesday morning Inner Circle Live session. I'm your host, Ryan Carthage. We'll be joined shortly by my awesome partner, Mr. Benny Allen, and Miss Casey Jackson. I hope everybody is doing well today. Hope everybody had an awesome Monday, and you've been able to start to think about how you implement the things we discussed yesterday in our Mindset Monday, discussing the law of the rubber band and how you have to continue to stretch yourself. If you weren't able to attend yesterday, definitely strongly recommend hopping back in and taking a look at the session from yesterday. It's pretty good one. Pretty good one. So, as always, let's turn off all distractions, prepare your minds and your bodies to engage, as you guys always do. And for the courtesy of everybody on the call, please ensure that your mic is muted if you're not actively asking a question or making a comment. All right. So we're going to dive in. We're going to take a look at some fundamentals, discuss a little bit about updates from the Russia-Ukraine situation, and then we'll dive into the charts. All right. So first, let's take a look at trade and economics. Euro area private sector growth remains robust. The S&P Global Flash Eurozone Composite PMI fell to 54.9 in May of 2022 from 55.8 in April. Below market forecast of 55.3, but still pointed to a robust growth in private sector activity, despite headwinds associated with the Ukraine war, pandemic supply constraints.
Good morning.
Also borrowing.
Ryan?
Oh, yes, good morning.
Good morning. I'm sorry. I'm not seeing your screen.
I didn't change it. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Whoops. There we go. You got me now?
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Desi.
Welcome.
Growth was led by the services sector at 56.3 versus 57.7, the second largest expansion in the past 8 months, amid rising demand due to the reopening of the economy after Omicron-related restrictions, especially for tourism and recreation activities. Meanwhile, manufacturing growth eased more as the output continued to be constrained by widespread supply shortages, with the Ukraine war and China's lockdowns having exacerbated existing pandemic-related supply chain pressures. Looking ahead, business optimism deteriorated slightly to its second lowest recorded over the past year and a half. Right, so still growth coming out of the Eurozone. Right, we talked about this for a couple of weeks now. We got growth coming out of the Eurozone, pressure on President Lagarde to increase the interest rates. So we'll see how things continue to progress. But the data shows that as of now, a change needs to be made. Okay. Change needs to be made. So let's go back. S&P Global German Composite PMI went up 54.6 in May from 54.3 in April, beating market expectations of 54. Flash estimates showed its marks fifth consecutive month of growth amid a sustained strong rebound in the services sector. The PMI at 56.3. Manufacturing output also increased, albeit only slightly, at 51, following a decline at the start of the second quarter. There were signs of demand starting to come under pressure from market uncertainty, rising prices, and supply issues. Inflationary pressure remains elevated, although rates of both input costs and output costs output price inflation trickled down slightly from April's recorded highs. Finally, business confidence toward the end of toward the year ahead outlook was the second lowest in the last 2 years as businesses continued to voice concerns over rising prices, supply bottleneck, and heightened uncertainty. So still got some supply issues that are also impacting the world. And I'll talk a little bit about those as well. But Germany, part of the Eurozone, still pressing forward. Okay, so that's from a Euro perspective. No, that's not the one that I wanted. Oil eases. WTI crude fell below $110 per barrel on Tuesday after ending flat in the previous sessions as concerns over a possible global recession and challenging demand outlook weighed on oil prices. Political and business leaders flagged the risk of a worldwide recession at annual Davos Economic Summit amid multiple threats. IMF Managing Director Kristalina said she didn't expect a recession for major economies, but could not rule it out. Investors also worried that elevated oil prices could dent consumption for fuels worldwide. Meanwhile, lingering concerns over tight global supply and hopes for demand return in China provided some support to crude prices. The head of Saudi Aramco told Reuters that the world is facing major oil supply crunch as energy firms are afraid to invest in the sector as they face green energy pressures. Chinese demand is also expected to pick up as Shanghai prepares to reopen and authorities ramp up policy support. So China's been in lockdowns, right? They're getting ready to reopen things as those cases are coming down. That'll increase the demand. When they talk about these ramp ups policy support, Russia's in a space, and I'll read part of this article, but Russia's in a space where they're preparing themselves to disassociate with the Western countries and continue pressing into the Ukraine scenario. This economic summit, Russia is a no-show to. It's the World Economic Summit that's happening. And Russia's continuing to press in. They've already taken over the primary port in Ukraine that Ukraine exported wheat and oils out of. Russia also cut oil supply to Finland because Finland refused to pay in rubles. Okay. So they're getting more aggressive with their take and where they stand. But in that, because they're getting ready, they're preparing themselves to disassociate with the West, they're turning to China and are looking to strengthen their relationship with China. Right? They're looking to strengthen their relationship with China. We'll talk about China as well, because some interesting things are happening there also. Right? So we'll switch over. Hit this article real quick. UK looking at getting grain out of Ukraine, warning of hunger and famine if not. Ukraine is holding talks. UK is holding talks with Ukraine on how to get its grain out of the country. British government minister said on Tuesday, Russia has blocked Ukraine's main seaports, blocking exports of grain from the country, which is seen as one of the world's breadbaskets, as a massive exporter of agricultural products from wheat to sunflower oil and pushing up global food prices. UK Transport Ministry Grant Sharp told the news that he was very concerned about the issue, saying more lives could be lost as a result of hunger. What really worries me is we've seen so many lives lost in Ukraine. We could see even more lives lost in places in the world through grain and food shortages, which could be even greater than the lives lost in the war. He met with the Ukrainian infrastructure minister last week to discuss how they can move grain out of the country, following reports that UK and other willing allies could put in place military export to ensure ships carrying goods out of the port of Odessa were kept safe, right? So this is a major issue here. Major issue. Okay, major issue. So that's big. That's big, right? Back to economics for one other article in regards to the dollar. Dollar extends losses. The dollar index weakened to its lowest level in a month, below the 101 mark, moving in tandem with Treasury yields amid lingering concerns about slowing economic growth. At the same time, investors scaled back bets on whether the U.S. interest rate hikes will drive further greenback gains, with aggressive tightening by the Federal Reserve already priced in. The most pronounced selling activity was against the euro, a move triggered by somewhat hawkish remarks from the ECB. The central bank signaled that it would likely shift its deposit rates out of a negative territory by the end of the third quarter. Right, so the ECB is starting to get more hawkish in their tone. Okay, euro hits 4-week high. The euro extended gains above 107, the highest in 4 weeks, after ECB President Christine Lagarde said the central bank is likely to exit negative interest rates by the end of the third quarter. Traders were already boosting bets on higher borrowing costs after hawkish comments from the ECB Nott and ECB Vilroy. On the data front, the latest PMI data showed growth remaining robust in May, supported by services sector. Cost pressures eased the second month, but remained elevated. Also, IFO business climate indicator for Germany unexpectedly rose to a 3-month high at 93, indicating Europe's largest economy continues to show no signs of recession. Still, Europe's common currency is not far from a 5-year low at $1.03, reached last week as the invasion of Ukraine by Russia deepened the energy crisis, boosted inflation, and slowing growth, right? Also, keep in mind that Europe is still working on the ban for the embargo of oil coming out of Russia. They're expected to complete that and have agreement from all countries by the end of the month. So that's also something to keep on our radars. All right. So Forex Factory. Today, right? Flash PMI, right? Those numbers came in. We read about that. We had the pound flash PMI also, which came in close to expectations. Services was a little bit low. We got flash PMI for the dollar at 945. And then later on today, we have Fed Chair Powell speaking at 12, and we have Christine Lagarde speaking at 2. So we definitely want to keep an eye on those speeches. And then tonight for the New Zealand dollar, we got their cash rate where they're expected to increase the rate another 50 basis points. All right. All right. So that's where we are. We'll keep an eye on those things for the day. As we move through the week, we definitely have some other things to keep our eyes on. Christine Lagarde speaks again tomorrow. Bank of Japan Governor Kurudo speaks as well. And we have core durable goods, but then FOMC meeting minutes also come out. That's going to give us an indication in writing on what the conversation was from the last monetary policy conversation. And then Royal Bank of New Zealand Governor Orr speaks tomorrow as well. On Thursday, we have preliminary GDP for the United States, core retail sales for the Canadian dollar. And then on Friday, we have core PCE. Right, so the cycle of reports starting to kick back up for this as we move to the end of the month and prepare for the beginning. Okay, from a risk appetite perspective, VIX is sitting at 19.3, right, just below that 20 mark that we keep our eye on. So we'll continue to see how investors see things and feel things, especially as Fed Chair speaks today. All right. So we'll take a look at oil. We will get an overview of some of the pairs that we looked at this weekend, and we will move from there. All right. Benny, Casey, good morning. How we doing?
Good morning, Ryan. Doing great. Good morning, everybody.
Awesome, man. Awesome. All right. So let's take a look at the dollar. Right. From the daily. Right. Still pushing down. Okay. We came back to this daily level. We closed below yesterday, right? Continue to press down in this up retracement zone. Okay. So 23.6 retracement came just shy of that 118 level. And now we're pressing down. And we'll see if we can get this continued press down to at least this 38.2 in this weekly support level, right? We got a trend line coming down to track this retracement. All right. So the one, that's that move to the downside, right? So as that dollar continues to retrace, we'll continue to watch the dollar pairs and some of those yen crosses, and see how things move, right? To see when we actually get this move back to the upside. Okay, so that's a 1 hour fib there at a deep level. We definitely could see this 1 hour fib get taken out, right? And see this weekly level get hit. Okay, so pulling back still on the dollar. So that'll be big for the dollar pairs as we look at some of those retracements on the pound dollar, euro dollar, Aussie dollar, and dollar yen, right? So over to oil. This is the move on oil, right? Oil's pressing to the downside. Came back to, just this trend line back out. There's our trend line there, right? So the dollar pushed up to this monthly level, zoom out, right, to the top of that range. And now we're getting this retracement. Okay, we got a retracement. We did get, right, 786 retracement, and we got a break of the trend line, and now we're getting a pullback, right? Come back to retest this level and look to see if oil starts to make its move back to the upside from here. Okay, if we pop back out to the daily, just to get that larger view of the range, this is it. Okay, this is the larger view of the range there. Got to the top of it, gave us a nice pullback to that 618 level, and now we'll see if we get that push back to the upside to get back to this B boundary at least. Okay, so continue to keep your eyes on oil. Desi says oil swings one day up, one day down. Definitely, as things continue to move back and forth. The media phrases things interesting depending on what outlet you look at. Some will say China's opening up, some will say China is not. And that definitely pushes this in one direction or the other, along with the back and forth with Russia and Ukraine. So we'll see. We'll see. The other thing to note from a global perspective is, I believe I mentioned last week that China is currently surrounding Taiwan. China is currently surrounding Taiwan in preparation for potential invasion of Taiwan. And that also makes the relationship with Russia an interesting one to watch to see how it solidifies. And so in China's surrounding of Taiwan for a potential invasion, President Joe Biden stated in a press conference that if China invades Taiwan, the United States will step in with military force, right? United States will step in with military force. So that's major, right? Because in the past, the United States hasn't fully supported Taiwan in any of their efforts, but that tone has changed over the past month or so. So that will be another space where the United States is involved in another country's war, right? For various reasons, but you'll have the United States kind of in the middle of two situations, Russia and Ukraine and Taiwan. And as Russia and China continue to solidify their relationship, right, it could put us in a situation where we could have a larger war ultimately break out, right, in multiple spaces, which will impact inflation, will impact cost, will impact a lot of things from a monetary perspective. So that's also something to keep your eyes on. And also the shipping situation will continue to be exacerbated if that occurs. All right. So we'll keep our eyes on all of that. It's a lot to look at, but this is oil, right? Looking for potential push to the upside, getting at least to the B boundary. We'll see if we can get to that 118 level at 117.07. Okay. Any questions here on oil?
No, sir.
No.
All right. So let's take a look. Let's take a look at this Aussie Cad. From a daily perspective, right? We got this push down to this weekly support level. We've been pushing off of that ever since. Haven't quite got to the 38.2 off this daily fib. Okay, zoom out. That's the look. Okay, press down to this weekly support. Now we're getting a retracement, right? So as we drop down through the time frames, the weekly level, I'm sorry, a 4-hour perspective, this is our active AB boundary. So we wanted to see how price responded at this trend line as it pressed higher, right? Came to a 50% level in conjunction with the trend line. Now we're starting to get this press back down, right? Now we're getting that press back down. As we drop further, right, this is what we look like on the one. Got a nice deep retracement, stayed inside that AB boundary as it came in line with that trend line, and we're getting that reversal, okay? So price is starting to press down. We'll see if that continues. If oil continues this press to the upside, right, we could see this pair continue press down. Okay, so we're still deep in the zone. We'll see if we get this continuation to the downside to get to the matching extension here of 885. Okay, so that's what we're looking at here, is a potential for this continued down move. Especially if we close bearish below this daily level. If we can break this support, right, get a push down, we could be looking at this continuation to the downside. All right. You guys follow me on this Aussie Cad?
Yes.
Okay. Any questions on the Aussie Cad? No? All right. This is the move here. So trend line
You know
to
what?
the
I'll take
upside.
that back. I do have a
That's a break
question.
and retest. Yes, what's up?
So, I had Aussie Cad on my radar, and I do use the MACD and the RSI on TradingView. So I set an alarm to see when it crosses up. So I guess now that I'm wondering, when I get these alerts that, and I know that it's a lagger, and I guess it's just confusing, that if I'm getting a signal that price is crossing up, but we see that price is technically going down, why? I mean, what's the significance of that? Or should I just not even use that no more?
So with those, that could be a signal of divergence, right? You got the indicator moving to the upside, price moving to the downside, right? So generally when you get divergence, you'll get a lot of times you're going to break out in one direction or the other, right? Because you have potential momentum pushed to the upside, but price is actually moving in the opposite direction, or vice versa, right? So in this scenario, right? That indicator was pressing to the upside, saying momentum was moving up, which in theory it was, right? And over the long term, right, on the daily, you would think you still have price moving to the upside because you haven't gotten that retracement yet. So from a higher time frame, yeah, we're moving to the upside. But as that thing starts to reverse on the lower time frames, that's where some of that divergence can come in as the potential momentum starts to shift. So you could see that over time turn back down and move back to the downside. But that is a signal of divergence. So, yep. So kind of a disagreement between price and momentum. That makes sense? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Cool deal. So that's what we got here, right? Press down, broke a trend line, came back, retested, and then we got a strong bearish push to the downside over the past couple hours. Okay, so that's our Aussie CAD moving to the downside. Okay. Aussie Swiss. All right, so in the Aussie Swiss, we're looking for potential move to the upside, and then we wanted to see if we got a break back below. Okay, clean this up just a little bit. Currently on the daily time frame, we're sitting at sitting between the 618 and the 786 retracement level, right? But price did push down to this 786 level, right? So we're getting some indecision right now at this level. And we want to see, are we able to close below, right? Are we able to close below? So as we move through from a 4-hour perspective, this is where we sit on the 4, right? It's larger fib, larger move, but overall, this has been sideways, right? We came to this weekly level and we got some sideways movement, and now we're trying to press down, right? From a trend line perspective, we did get a break below the trend line. We want to see if we stay below that trend line, okay? Want to see if we stay below that. And as we move to the 1, this is what that 1-hour fib looks like. All right, so it's giving us a double bottom look right now. Price is trying to push back to the upside in favor of the Aussie, right? We got a 38.2 retracement, didn't quite get to the 50. We would love to see a deeper retracement here if that happens, right? But we'll see how price responds at these 2 daily levels that it's been bouncing back and forth in between. Okay, so this one, no real setup, right? But we could be looking at price to continue moving, price to move back to the upside for this pair. Okay. As the dollar continues to retrace also, right, we could slide back into this risk off environment for a period of time, right? These conversations this afternoon could give us some indication of that as well. Okay. So that's the Aussie Swiss, nothing doing. The Aussie yen. This one we're continuing to watch because, right, we did get a 38.2 retracement on the daily. We're starting to get this pullback now. We want to see if price stays below this trend line, right? So we're sitting at this daily level, right? And price has just ultimately been moving sideways here, right? Been moving sideways. So we want to see if we get another push to the upside, right, to get to that daily level, to that daily trend line, and then to see if price pushes down. Okay, so as we move through, get to the 4, right? From a 4-hour perspective, we didn't quite get to the 618 level. So price is struggling at this daily, the daily level that it's at, right? This is that sideways movement that we saw. Okay, I got trend lines coming both ways here. This is that down trend line that we saw on the daily. Okay, and this is tracking this move to the upside here on the 4. Okay, so we want to see ultimately, do we get a break of this trend line, right? I'm bearish, or I'm bullish on the yen. So I want to see a break of this trend line to the downside, right? But if we get a break to the upside, we'll look for price to continue to move up. Okay. So we'll continue to monitor this to see where price moves. Okay, but my bias is to the downside in favor of the yen, as we could potentially press deeper. The yen could pick up just a little bit of strength as we move forward. Okay, So this is a 4, and this is what we're looking for, right? Either break to the downside, or if we do get a break to the upside, then we'll look for a price to continue to press higher. Okay. And as we move to the 1, this is what it looks like on the 1. Right? Nice deep retracement, and this is that sideways pressure. Okay. So as we continue to move sideways, we'll see how price responds. Okay. So sit tight and wait for the market to tell us what it wants to do. Okay. And that's our trend line there. All right. So be patient with the yen. Be patient with the yen. Aussie dollar. Right. We said we could continue to see price press to the upside, right? If the dollar continued to retrace, we could see this one continue to push higher, right? And that's what's occurred. Got a nice bullish move there. Now we're getting a retest of this daily level that we broke through, right? We'll see if we get to this next daily level here around 71708. Okay. Let's move through the time frames, drop to the 4, right? And this is our downtrend line here. We got a break and we're coming back to retest, right? Price pushed up just shy of the 618 retracement on the 4, okay? Broke the trend line. So we want to see, does the trend line in this daily level hold for a push to the upside here, right? Again, if the dollar continues to make that retracement deeper, we could see this continue to press deeper into the zone, okay? Could see that continue to press deeper in the zone. So we'll continue to watch that one for a deeper move. And then as price gets higher into the zone, we can reassess to see where the dollar is, to see where the Aussie is, to see if we could be preparing for a turnover and press back down. Okay, so that's from a 4-hour perspective. We drop down to the 1, and this is our move here, right? On the 1 hour, we got a 50% retracement, double bottom here, push off the trend line, tracking to the matching D extension, right? So this is around that 717 level that we talked about on the 4, right? So we could see price end up here before we get a potential reaction, okay? So on the dollar pairs, continue to wait on these retracements and these higher prices to then see how the market responds and to see if we get a turnover, okay? Those deeper retracements on the dollar. Any questions on this Aussie dollar? No? Okay, cool deal. Swiss yen. Swiss yen is another that we talked about over the weekend. I wanted to watch and see how it moved. Okay, we came into, from a weekly perspective, we pushed up into this week, created a new weekly high here, right? Couldn't close above this monthly resistance level here, press down. And then we're getting a retracement, right? Market taking back some of the strong bearish movement, right? Nice retracement occurred here after the push to the downside. So now as we move through the time frames to get to the daily, this is what that move looks like, right? We had this nice move to the downside, came to this daily support, and we got to press back up. Okay, so now we're sitting at this this next level here, which was support right here, right? Daily support. Now we want to see if it acts as somewhat of a resistance zone and price closes back below, right? So we'll watch that to see. But we're at a key level also on the daily fib, right? 618. Okay, so we have the opportunity for price to either press down from here and close below that daily level, or we could continue to press a little higher, right? And come back and retest this monthly resistance level before we potentially get a reaction. Okay, so this will be a key one to watch to see how price moves. And as we move through the time frames, we'll see what it looks like on the 4 and the 1. Okay, on the 4 hour, this is it. Right, still testing this trend line here, right? But on the 4, we're at a deep retracement level, 8.6 level. Okay, if price does press up to this monthly zone, it'll take out the A, right, which will give us that deeper retracement on the daily. Okay, so we want to break of this trend line, so we'll see how the market responds. If this trend line gets broken, it'll also push below that daily level that we're looking at, right? And that'll give us some confirmation that we could be in for this move down, right? So from a 4-hour perspective, starting to get some consolidation at a deep level, at a daily zone as well, right? So we'll see how the market responds, but we want to watch this zone here. Okay, we want to watch this zone for that potential move down. Now, as we get to the 1, we see we took out the A on this press up, right? On this press to the upside. So we flip our fib from the bottom, come to the top, and we hit a D extension also on this press to the upside. Okay, so our new fib looks like this. Right? And that's where we sit on the 1. Okay, so watch this one in these zones and see if we get a break. See if we can get a break of the trend line. If we do, right, could be in for a nice move to the downside. Okay, from a daily perspective. Right, from a daily perspective. Deep retracement matching the extensions down at 122.819. Okay, so we'll watch this. We'll watch the yen and the dollar to see at what point do they turn over and do we get momentum to pick back up in a potential risk off scenario. Okay, any questions on this Swiss yen?
No.
No. All right. Cool deal. Cool deal. Ben, you got any thoughts on the current environment? This Swiss yen, yes, you have 2 safe haven currencies, but the current environment overall with the dollar continuing to press down and some of the slowdown in the reports and in the economic numbers.
Just primarily still risk off. You know, things are back and forth. One day, it's kind of that washing machine effect right now, because you get some because you've got the growth concerns right across the globe.
Yeah,
got inflation still high, and then now you're starting to see even those central banks that have been lagging in regards to monetary policy, like the ECB, are now looking at rate hikes. You know, and like you said, we've got the RBNZ tonight that should be hiking by 50 basis points. So it's causing everything to go back and forth. That's why I'm just really paying attention to the key technical levels. Really, this is really good. Get good at trade management. Some trades I'm not letting run as long, you know, in regards to, hey, I'm up on this trade. I'm going to take some off the table, adjust my stops, because we're getting whipsawed back and forth right now with a lot of the setups. But that's okay. You know, you just have to know how to play them. The sequence, you know, definitely continues to play out as we see on the charts. But as it goes from that B to C or that C to D, you tend to get whipped around a little bit. So like I said, I'm just more apt to take some of my money off the table a lot sooner than I typically do. But everything's still playing within the framework. But the main concern is just the slower growth, the potential for slower growth, you know, with the rising interest rates. And you see investors trying to get ahead of it, but you do get some things that are just, you know, surprising, where they say, hey, out of the UK, you know, headed towards stagflation, but then you get solid job numbers that come through. And usually with situations of stagflation, usually you end up with, you know, job losses. So it's a perplexing time. I know a lot of the webinars that I'm on, you know, throughout the day and listening in to, you know, the other pro traders, is just, especially those that trade stocks, it's kind of a mess. It's kind of a mess, but yeah, nonetheless, we'll make it through it. But like I say, just better trade management during times like this. But definitely more leaning for the risk off. That's why you see that Swissy so strong right now. But that Swiss yen is a key area though.
Yeah, it is. And you got Bank of Japan, I believe they're speaking tomorrow. So that could be interesting as well. Where was that at? CPI. Oh, today. Tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow. So could give us some indication there if they plan on making any adjustments also. So cool deal, man. Appreciate it, dude.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
So also from just another technical perspective, right, in regards to your confirmations, just so, and it's been like this for quite some time now, but just a reminder to a lot of our newbies. So maybe not so much of a, at least the way I'm trading, not so much more of those buy limits, sell limits, things like that. Just waiting, being patient. And yes, okay, I'm at a key level, but just waiting on the trend line breaks and any other additional confirmations that you use on your chart. So that's where I'm at with it.
Absolutely. No, that's a key point, right? Understanding the environment and understanding, because we are back and forth a lot, right? Utilizing those additional confirmations for the entries. Absolutely. Great point, man. All right. So that's the Swiss yen. Let's take a look at this CAD yen. CAD yen, right? We pushed up into this, created a new weekly high here, right? Another scenario where we couldn't fully stay above this monthly zone, okay? Last week, we closed bearish, right? And then we had a retest of this weekly candle and this monthly zone that we couldn't stay above, okay? Now we're getting a little bit of indecision, right? We got oil retracing, trying to turn over and push back to the upside. And then we got just trying to get back, press deeper into the risk off environment, right? So trying to see where price is going to go. Okay. So if we drop down to the daily time frame, right, we got a shallow retracement, price push to the 118, 127 zone, and slowly getting this move to the downside, right? So we're staying below the trend line, right? So similar to the Aussie yen, and even the Swiss yen, right? We're sitting at a key level, and we want to see, do we break below this level to give us this deeper move down, right? We've been staying below the trend line so far, right? We want to see if we get a deeper push and a break back below that, right? So if we press into that risk off environment, we could see this press down, even if oil presses to the upside in the scenario, right? Sometimes you'll see us in a risk off environment, and you'll see this press to the downside even when oil is moving up. So we'll continue to watch that one from that perspective. But we want to see what happens here at this level, right? We want to see what happens at this level. So as we move down to the 4, right? And this is that look. It's just been sideways in this range, really just straight sideways. Okay, so we want to keep an eye to see if we get that break below. On the 1, this is what that range looks like. This is what that range looks like, right? Pretty choppy. So we'll see how it plays, right? But keep your eyes on it, right? Keep your eyes on it. If we get a press below, don't have that on the lower. Link that down, right? If we get a press below that level there, right? Could be looking for more movement to the downside.
Hey, Ryan, could you explain? This is Brandy. Good morning.
Hey, Brandon. Good morning.
So from the perspective of the Fed, when the market is moving in that yellow, does that mean that there's really no momentum until it gets into the green to push up?
So the yellow background and the green background, this is just an indication from a Fib perspective on whether you're in the retracement zone or the up push zone. So right now, it's just moving sideways. But when you get price to press down into signals, that sweet spot that we look at, right? So when price is in that retracement phase, and it presses down into this zone, this is just an indication of the zones that we like to trade and how it's set up in the algorithm. This yellow is the up push zone in the scenario, right? So when the fib is moving to the upside, this zone is yellow, this zone is green. So this is your retracement zone. This is your up push zone, right? So in this scenario, the market is telling us that it's moving sideways. So we wouldn't even necessarily really pay attention to the zone that it's in. We want to see a breakout in one direction or the other. When you get price that is, let me see, go to, I'll come back to this this CAD yen. What was that? Pound CAD. Yeah, here. So like pound CAD, right? You got price retracing. So it's pressing down into the sweet spot zone now, right? Pressing down. So as price moves down and gets into these zones we like to trade, that tells us that this is in the retracement zone, right? We can start to look for potential setup opportunities. And then as price changes direction, right, and pushes back up, now it's moving into the up push zone. That's what the color indication is. Does that make sense? This doesn't tell us whether there's momentum or not. It's just a color signifier of whether it's in a retracement zone or a push zone.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Any questions on this? Any other questions on this CAD yen? Right, sideways right now, but we want to monitor it to see if this trend line holds, and if we can get a break below this level here. It's 99, mid 99 range. No. Okay. Since we looked at it, let's take a look at this pound CAD. We said we could see a retracement come, right? So here, pound CAD pushed up into this daily level, right? We didn't get a 38.2 yet. Price pushed into this daily zone and then came down, right? So came back to this weekly level that it broke out of. So we want to see, does this level hold, or do we get this continued press down in favor of the Canadian dollar? As we move through to the 4, right, we're tracking this trend line to the upside, and we wanted to watch this level to see what happened. If we got a break to the upside to get to the weekly, right, or if we got a break back down to give us a pullback and a move back down to the bottom of this range. And that's what we got, sideways, and then the press down, right? So we broke that trend line back to the downside. So we could likely be coming back to the bottom of this range at least, okay? So as we get to the 1, right, we hit the matching D extension here off of a 786 retracement on Monday, and then we got the sideways movement, and then we got the breakdown, okay? So that was the move. That was the move back to the downside. Anybody take this play? Kind of a range play here? No?
I didn't.
Cool deal. I am in that one short. But we'll see, right? We'll see if we press back down to the bottom of this range, then get a reversal and continue press higher, right? We'd love to see this thing come down into this 618, 786 zone, right? And retest these trend lines here. Okay, so that's the pound CAD. Questions? No? All right. Pound yen. Right, we've been watching this one. This was a good conversation we had last week, right? We got a break of the trend line, then price pressed back down below it, and then it came back up, right? So we're playing at this daily level here. We're playing at this daily level, and we want to see, does price continue to turn over and press to the downside, or do we get this deeper move back to this weekly resistance zone? Okay, so as we move through the time frames, this was the look here. So it's just sideways, got a nice deep retracement, 618 on the 4, right? And we're just playing in this zone right now. So we want a strong bearish close below this daily level, right? To give us a little bit of confirmation that we can continue down, right? If we don't get that, and we get this press deeper, right? Be coming back to this weekly level that Benny said we could retest, right? Before we get a move back to the downside. Okay, so these yen pairs will be interesting to continue to follow, right? To see if we get some follow through to the downside sometime in the near future here. Okay, so keep your eyes on it and watch if we get a strong bearish close below that zone. Okay, so that's from a 4-hour perspective. We drop to the 1, and you see we're starting to create, right? We're creating still lower highs. Okay, still creating lower highs. So on the 1-hour perspective, we did press back down. Okay, we just want to see now, does that press down continue? And do we continue to get that movement? That's that trend line that we broke above, and then we broke back below it. Okay, so we want to see if we get this continued movement to the downside, matching extension. If we get it, the 154.355 on the 1. Okay, so that's where we sit on the pound yen. Any questions here? Continue to watch it. That's our uptrend line there. Okay. So price coming to a point where a decision is going to have to be made in one direction or the other, and we'll see what direction it chooses. Okay. All right. And take a look at these NZD plays. New Zealand Swiss. From a daily time frame perspective. Take this out. Right. From a daily time frame perspective, we're in a up retracement zone currently. We got a nice deep 8-6 retracement, and price is just consolidating here, right? We got Royal Bank of New Zealand interest rate statement tonight, right? So we could see price press back to the upside in favor of the New Zealand, right? We're already starting to get some reaction, right? But we have this daily support level, right, that we've just been playing around at. And we want to see if this level holds or if we get broken and push back to the upside. Okay, so that's from a daily perspective. As we move down to the 4, right, this is that retracement zone. This is that retracement zone. If we map our fib from the top to the bottom, this is where we sit here. Okay, we got a 50% retracement. Price couldn't break through this 118 level, right? And we want to see if we get this press back to the upside in favor of the New Zealand dollar. Okay, as we move to the 1. Oops. We'll map these down. All of those got taken out. There we go. Right. So on the 1, right, you see this kind of triple bottom look forming here, right? So a level of support that we want to see if holds and if we get that continued pushback to the upside. Okay. But with that rate statement coming out, we definitely could see this press at least to this trend line, right? And want to see if price pushes up, takes out that A, and continues pressing to the upside here. Okay, so we'll continue to watch that to see. But that's New Zealand Swiss. Take a look at the New Zealand Cad, right? We came into this daily level that we said we wanted to see price give us that nice deeper retracement on the 4-hour and on the 1, right? So if it pounds back out to the daily, starting to get that retracement, new AB boundary, pushed back to this daily level, right? We're starting to get just a little bit of reaction there. So as we move to the 4, drop the fib back on here. Okay. On the 4, we got that nice deep retracement. Came to that daily level, 618 retracement, and then we got the turnover and press down, right? So with the CAD bouncing back and forth, right? We'll see here if the momentum continues to press in favor of the Canadian dollar. We did get a trend line break on the 4. Okay. Now, if for whatever reason this rate statement comes in below expectations, we definitely could see a strong reaction in favor of the counter currency in these situations, right? It's always a potential, but New Zealand has been consistent in regards to what they've been doing with their interest rate increases. So it's expected that they would come in at that 50 basis point increase But in the event that they don't, right, this could be a signal for us that we could be in position for a continued move to the downside. So watch this one here closely. As we go to the 1, this is what that move looks like. Okay, got that trend line break down, getting some consolidation here now. And we'll see if we get a retest of the daily level and a press down, or if price continues to press deeper in the zone. Okay, this is that 4-hour fib there. Okay, any questions on the New Zealand CAD?
Nope.
All right. New Zealand yen. All right, this is the look on the 1. Came back to this weekly level that we broke through, right? And we want to see, do we get a break above and press higher, right? We broke the trend line, or do we continue to press down? Okay, so if we pop back out to the daily, back to the daily, this is the look here, right? We got a nice, just shy of a 618 retracement here, right? And price is giving us this move here, trying to press to the upside. It's kind of choppy, right? Up and down at this weekly level. So this level is going to be key for us. Previous resistance, right? See if it acts as resistance again. See if it acts as resistance again, right? If this level holds, definitely see this continue to press down, break back below that trend line, continue moving to the downside, okay? So as we go to the 4, let's give us a nice look. To the 4. Run our fib from the low. This is where we sit, right? Again, we got a nice deep retracement, well, 50% retracement, not down into the sweet spot. And now we're getting this retracement here, right? So if we look at our sub fibs on this from top to bottom, okay, shallow retracement, 118 to 127 zone. We're getting this retracement here on the sub fib. We'd like to see this press higher, right? We'd like to see this press higher. So again, with that rate statement, we could potentially see that happen. Okay, it'll be key. It'll be key, right? We're sitting up against the trend line right now, right? We'll see if we get this continued track to the upside, right? Once we get into the 618 level, definitely be watching this to see if we get a turnover, also in line with that monthly resistance zone. Okay, so this one I'm gonna keep my eyes on to see if we get a press higher before we get that turnover back down, or if we get a turnover back to the downside. Okay, questions on this New Zealand yen?
Yep.
Deal. New Zealand dollar. Clean this up a little bit so we can see this, right? This is what we're looking for. This is on the 4, right? We're watching this into the upside. It didn't stay below this trend line, press to the upside, right? So we'll take these out. Right? So now we came back to, right? Yesterday, we came back to this monthly resistance level, right? Was support, broke back to the downside, 786 retracement, right? We want to see, does this level hold, or do we press deeper into the zone? Okay, do we press deeper into the zone? We zoom out to see what this full move looks like, right? And that's it, right? It's been down. Now we're getting this retracement. So it's just a question of how deep does this retracement go, right? If we pull back to the daily, get a more broad view, right? And we look at this from top to bottom, like so, okay? We already got a deep retracement on the daily time frame, right? Price pressed down, came to the key level. Now we're getting a pullback, right? Strong move, pullback. Now we want to see, do we then get a continued turnover and press down, right? So interest rate this evening will be key, here, right? So back to the 4, right? A 618 retracement. Actually, no, I apologize. That was on the one. So this is the actual 4-hour fib. I apologize. That was on the smaller wave down here, right? That was a sub fib. So if we map our fibs from the top to the bottom on the 4, we're sitting at a 236 level right now. Okay, I apologize for the confusion there. I ran these sub fibs here, and that was
All good.
That was the move there. So from the larger, call it capital fib, right? We're sitting at a 236 level. Okay, so could see this press deeper, right? We'll watch throughout the day to see how that goes, right? But 2 key levels here. We want to see which one holds true. Okay. Questions on the NZD dollar? No? All right, cool deal. And we're gonna pop over and take a look at the euro dollar real quick. Euro dollar real quick. So daily time frame, right? Been pressing down and we're getting a retracement, right? Shallow retracement, 118, 127 zone, right? Nice V reversal, press back up. So we came back to this monthly level that we broke through to the downside. We want to see, does this level hold or do we get a retracement out of this, right? Pull back. So as we move down in the time frames, we get to the 4, right? Just shy of that 38 to retracement on the 4-hour, right? Right in the middle of that zone. Okay. Price starting to potentially react at the top of the zone there. Okay. As we come down to the 1, this is what we have, right? So active fib on the 1, we got a shallow retracement. Price pushed up to the 118 and 127 zone. Or we want to see, right? Do we get a retracement to come out of this? Do we get a retracement to come out of this? All right. Benny just posted this in the Telegram, right? So check it out. But right, use those confirmations here. And let's watch it, right? Push down, right? So now I want to see, do we get a nice retracement to come? Do we get a trend line break? And that continued move down, right? So this is one to keep on your radar. Check it out. I said Benny posted in the Telegram the setup, okay? So if your confirmations are met, right, that's the opportunity for you, okay? Any questions on the euro dollar?
Brian, this morning's done it. For
Morning,
those,
Donna.
like how you have the trend line break and the retracement, what, when you see the retracement, like what gives you that confirmation, or what confirmation do you look for once you get the retracement to make sure that it's gonna?
After the trend line break, you mean?
Yeah,
For me, my confirmations is just the trend line break, especially when we have shallow retracement 118, 127 zone. So I don't wait for the pullback, right? One thing you could do is you can drop down to the 15-minute time frame. Let's do this. I'm gonna link all these down just to show you this. We'll copy this 1-hour fib, take it down to the 15. So one thing you could do on the 15 is once you get that trend line break, you can then draw, right, a kind of a sub fib trend line, or a sub trend line, if you will, just on that retracement that potentially comes, right? And this is being extremely conservative. There's a couple ways you can do it, right? So that's your trend line there, non-aggressive trend line, right? Once you get that trend line, what you can do is once price settles and gives you this smaller retracement here, you can either zoom in on that and wait for another swing high and trend line break, and that be your entry or confirmation, or you can use your sub fib, right, and use the fib sequence, right? Whichever you choose in the scenario, but that's two ways you can take a look at it and be conservative in regards to the entry, right? You can either draw that trend line there and wait for that secondary break for the move down, or you can use your fib sequence. And as price continues to press down, right? New AB boundary there, trend line break, wait for a deep retracement to come, right, into your sweet spot. So if that looks like this, AB boundary, pull back here, right? Then this would be your entry off of the sub fib to the downside here.
All right, you
Do
give
those two make sense?
Yes, I love that. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Any other questions on the euro dollar?
Hey, Ryan,
Yo,
this is a perfect example, right, of what we're talking about during these conditions. So when we talk about the trade management, so if you're, instead of letting that trade float so much, you wait on that trend line break, then you can put your stop right above the high, so you can tighten your stop loss down significantly. When you play trend line break, when you get a trend line break, you can put your stop right above the previous high. Now, do you have a situation where you can get stopped out more frequently? Yeah, but you're gonna know you're wrong a lot sooner than later, right? So during times where things are super crazy, oftentimes this is the type of technique that I'll use. I'll wait for those trend line breaks and I'll tighten that stop down above the high instead of my typical limit order.
so something like that.
Yeah, appreciate it, because I was looking for more of like most of my confirmations in terms of getting in the trade with, a lower risk. So this is actually perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Yeah. So this is what Benny's talking about here, right? You get the trend line break and close, nice bearish candle. Your entry is a blue line, stop above the high. So now, right, you shrunken that stop loss. Now you're looking at the move back down.
Yep. Because then right? Hey, I'm wrong. Because if price reverses back on you and takes out that high, then you just, hey, it's probably gonna hit higher to the 127 or up against that daily resistance. Then we'll revisit it at that point. Some people just trade like that, period. Just depends on, again, your lifestyle, what you can handle psychologically in regards to being stopped out, more frequently than you typically would if you were just letting the trade float and do this thing. But it does allow you to, because you're tightening your stop, right? Then, your lot size could potentially increase, depending on how you're trading and what your trade plan is. And then, like I said, that you're right or wrong a lot sooner than later. So.
Yeah. For sure.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Benny, you got anything else that you got your eyes on, man? You're trying to take like before we wrap it up?
I think I had you take a look at the Euro Aussie for me.
Euro Aussie, yeah. Yeah.
Right, so if you look at it, if you look at the 4-hour chart. So off that double bottom, so if you run your fibs to the upside there. Right, that's when I've been eyeing is taking off. You can see that double bottom off that 50.
Yeah.
As it continues to push up. So watch out. But you for a shorter term trade, right? That last impulse leg is the Aussie pair. So if you take it from that second double bottom, that second bottom, and measure that, if you measure that real quick, you can see that's moved up quite a way.
Whew.
See? Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So I'm watching it closely because there may be a correction play there, like if you go down to your 1 and your 15. Yep.
Yeah. Nice deep retracement here off the top.
Yeah. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So that's a potential play back to the downside as there's a correction, but it's gonna move a lot. It's a Euro Aussie play. On your 15, you might already have a fib to the upside off that impulse play.
That's the one there.
Yeah. So your fib,
Yep.
you should have it. You probably have an AB boundary at 15.
Yep, I dropped down. Two ways to look at this, right? So on your one, you got deep retracement, right? 8-6 level, looking for that reversal push down, right? Could potentially come back to the matching extension here at the 118 at 149,212, right? One way to look at this: deep retracement opportunity, trend line break, push down, right? What Benny is saying is we can drop down to the 15, take a look at this even closer, right? And so we know on the one, we got this double bottom here, right? We know we got this double bottom, we got this push to the upside. So on this last move here, looking for that entry retracement opportunity, you can look here, right? So now you've got new AB boundary, got shallow retracement, price push to the 118 level, right? And we're getting some consolidation. So we could be looking for that move to the downside from here in that retracement play. And what Benny's saying also is, right, high ATR in this pair, right? For the high ATR, a small looking move is quite a bit, right? It's quite a bit, right? So you can do this one of two ways. You can run your trend line, right? This was your break, and now you're coming back to retest your trend line here. So you already got a trend line break, right? You can look for that entry in that move back to the downside. Okay. So if we get pushed from here to the 382, you're looking at 73 pips. If it pushes deeper back to previous resistance level, right, you're looking at over 100 pips to the downside, just off of the smaller move here in that retracement off of this bigger move, right? So that could be your entry point. And if, right, if then statements, if price does continue to press down to, right, the matching D extension at this 118 level, right, off that entry, you're looking at another 200 pips back to the downside, right? So two ways you can look at this for potential entry, right? But on the 15, that's the cleaner move that Benny's talking about. You got your trend line break and you're pulling back to retest that trend line now off of a fresh AB boundary and a 118 level, right? Shallow retracement, a 118 push. Does that make sense? I know I just said that fast.
Yeah.
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 And then you just be patient with it, to see if it'll push, see how it's pushing up now. If it pushes up and takes out that high just above, then you just let it go. But at some point that's gonna correct. So you may get a push higher to that 127 that'll take out that high that was just recently formed on the 15.
Mm-hmm.
And then if it pushes higher, then you just adjust your trend line.
Yep. And then you adjust like this.
Right. You just move your trend line out. Right. And if you're conservative, you could just leave it like that. Right. Doing that we're in that zone, because it'll break into the downside.
Yep.
So that's just one that I was looking at as well, watching that one closely. But it's pushed up quite a ways. I think it's going to continue to push up ultimately, but I think it might be due for a correction, in the near term, back down to the downside. So because we don't have that 382 yet on the daily. That's one thing I'm targeting. So it's strictly a correction play.
Yeah.
So if you on your daily time frame, we don't have it yet. And if you run your fib from the bottom, see there, see, we don't have it. We don't have it quite yet. But I just picked up that it's moved quite a ways, and it might be due for a correction. It might be one of those plays where you say, hey, if I can catch a pullback, maybe you don't play the short. You say, if I can catch a pullback to a low price, then I'll look to jump to see if it's going to get long. So, every time we give you a setup, you had an option to do that. So
for sure. Well, that's a good look though, right? You can play that shorter term move on the 15 to the downside on that retracement, and then look for the longer push to the upside to get to that 38.2. I like that. Questions? Anything that we've discussed this morning?
Hey, Ryan.
Yes, sir.
You've got a Euro Cad on the one. If you go to the 4 first for me, though, show you how this is set up. Because I've been riding it long, coming out of the weekend. So if you go to your 4 hour, you can see, right? So if you circle those highs, you can see it's headed towards that. Now you got that trend line break. Yep. So we talked about it over the weekend a little bit. Seem to be headed right back to the top of that range. But if you go down to the one off that leg, right? Always look at those impulse legs, guys. That's how you could find decent setups. And you run it from the bottom, run your fit from the low.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Okay. So you're looking at a potential correction on that before reaching that high. I don't know. Just draw a nice, like you're doing, just nice conservative trend line. And if you get a strong break to the downside, then you may be looking at a correction. You may want to push, sell off a bit prior to getting to that daily high again. All right, so we'll see. Yeah. Those are something to put on your radar. But you can always catch for those day traders, right? You can always catch that impulse leg, right? Where you got that wave going.
Yeah, for sure. And even if we press up to this daily level, right, to give us that high, you got a down trend line coming there too. Right?
Absolutely.
Right in line with that. So that can definitely give us that confirmation of a reversal. The trend line coming in line with that daily zone.
So if price go above that daily and hit the D extension, would it still have potential to go down or leave it alone?
It could.
It could. And if it finally breaks those highs, look at that. That's 3 times that it tested. We're running into the 4th. If it breaks it, it's going to break the trend line that Ryan has drawn to the downside. So you look at potential for further upside momentum, especially with that ECB rate decision just around the corner in June.
Yeah. So if it pushes higher, especially if it's a strong bullish push, right? If it's choppy, you want to watch it and see how it plays. But if it's a strong bullish break of that, yeah, you could see that continue to the upside. Right. But if it's choppy and gives you small candles as it hits that level and that D extension, right, you want to just watch it on the one to see if you get that reversal to come.
Okay, bet. Thank you.
Oops. Cool deal. Appreciate that, bro. 2 setups, keep your eyes on, right? Euro Aussie, or 3 setups, Euro Aussie, Euro Dollar, and this Euro Cad. Okay. All right, good people. Anything else before we close out, bro?
Nope, that's it.
All right, good people. Appreciate you joining this morning. Keep your eyes peeled. Stay ready, right? We got some press conferences coming this afternoon. Listen in, hear how they talk, right? Hear the words that they use and see how the market responds to those words, right? New people, Ricky, good morning. Welcome. Glad to have you. These sessions probably sound like gibberish, and that's okay, right? You're learning a new skill, right? So continue to stay involved, continue to dive into the training, right? Take what you saw here, go back to the training, go through each video step by step, right? Don't rush them. Don't compare your journey to anybody else's. Your path is your path, right? So go through each individual video, do the homework, right? Post the homework in the Facebook group or in the Inner Circle community so we can get your feedback. That implementation is where this is going to start to make sense over time. You're not going to get rich overnight. You're not going to be a millionaire tomorrow, but there's a process of growth, right? There's a process of learning. And if you're willing to commit to the process and take step by step by step by step, you can see that progress, because that's the goal, is progress. Perfection does not exist. All right. So the other thing is the email alerts that we send out, check your spam folder, right? Check your spam folder. They likely are going to spam. Those emails are going out. In the event that they don't, make sure you log into the community, click on the topics tab, right? And find the Inner Circle Live section where all of the posts are made for these live sessions. You click on the link there, right? That's going to be your source of truth, right? Is that Inner Circle Live post. Sometimes those emails may not get to you. They might get trapped in your spam folder, what have you. But the Inner Circle Live post is your source of truth. So log into the platform. If you're unfamiliar with the platform, you received an email that walks you through step by step where everything is in the platform. Check your email for that, right? It's the video that walks you through step by step where everything is, what the time of everything is, the whole nine. So check your email for that. It's there. Could be in your spam folder, but it's there waiting on you to take a look at it. All right. We appreciate you guys. Appreciate you guys showing up every day. Continue to put in the work. Continue to put in the work. Continue to put in the work. All right. Have a phenomenal day. Ben will be back with us tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the Asian session. We'll see how the market moved and how it reacted to some of the things that are going on today. Have an awesome, awesome Tuesday, everybody. Peace.
Thank you.